Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum class. Today we are going to discuss the metabolism of carbohydrates, and important metabolism is of glycolysis. Glycolysis comprised of many steps. We will discuss one by one. The main introductory part is for carbohydrates, and the principal dietary carbohydrates are mainly the polysaccharides. And among the polysaccharides, starches are more in our food, like potato, rice, and disaccharides like lactose and sucrose. And to very less extent, our diet is comprised of monosaccharides like glucose, fructose, which we take in the form of wheat, and many fruits also contains the glucose and fructose as well. And as far as the digestion of carbohydrate is concerned, the digestion of carbohydrate occurs to some extent in mouth, and it occurs largely in the intestine, and the polysaccharides get hydrated during heating, which is essential for their efficient digestion. And therefore hydrolysis and the breakdown of these you can say the carbohydrates started in the mouth, and the glycosidic bonds which are responsible for binding the glucose or the monosaccharides units with one another, which may be binded in branched fashion, or which may be binded in the linear way. And therefore, the hydrolysis of these glycosidic bond is carried out by the group of enzymes which are collectively called as glycositases. And these enzymes are very specific in function, that they started to hydrolyze the carbohydrate in the mouth even. And digestion in the mouth is get started with the carbohydrates, and therefore we can say that the carbohydrates are only nutrient which we take in the diet, for which the digestion begins in the mouth to some extent. Therefore, during the process of mastication, during which we chew the food, and our food is mixed with the saliva which is in our mouth, and therefore saliva contains the enzyme which is called as salivary alpha amylase, also called as ptyalin, which acts on the starch randomly. And when it acts starch on randomly, it randomly break down the alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkages, and therefore the product which are formed in the mouth, they include the alpha limit dextrin. Limit dextrin mean which contains the about 8 glucose units, which are mostly united by the alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage, and very few alpha 1,6 glycosidic linkages are present, which are responsible for the branching of the carbohydrates. And therefore, the maltotriose and the maltose are important. You can say the fragments which are formed in the mouth during the process of chewing or mastication, during the digestion of the carbohydrates in mouth. Here is drawn the carbohydrates units. These two ring monosaccharides units are united through the glycosidic linkage to give the disaccharide, and this glycosidic linkage is definitely binding the two carbohydrate monosaccharides unit through the oxygen. And therefore, why this is called 1,4 glycosidic linkage? Because while starting from here, its position number 1, 2, 3, and 4, there is binding of these two units between the carbon 4 and carbon 1. Therefore it is called alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage. And because there is a lot of water molecules along with the food in our body is comprised of large number of water molecule. Therefore the glycosylase enzyme acts on this bond and cleave it. When it cleave it, definitely one oxygen will go over here, and there is uh, deficiency is at the carbon end. Therefore the carbon valency is satisfied by the hydroxyl group, which is taking away from the water. Therefore, from water, one hydrogen go towards this oxygen and one OH towards this carbon. Therefore, in this way, these two disaccharides units, or we can say the simple carbohydrates, which are linked through the alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage, they were cleaved, and therefore the two monosaccharides units are liberated by the action of glycosylase enzyme. And there is a reasoning that the carbohydrates are not digested in the stomach. And why the carbohydrates are not digested in the stomach? Because our stomach have very low pH due to the large acidity, and this acidity is due to the liberation of HCl continuously into the stomach. And therefore the food which is coming from the stomach through which is coming in the stomach from the mouth through the esophagus, and it contains large amount of the salivary amylase. And therefore this salivary amylase, which is taken which was taken from the mouth, when it will go into the stomach, it will be inactivated because of very high acidity or the low pH of the stomach due to the HCl. Therefore the further degradation or the breakdown of the starch is stopped in the stomach. And from the stomach we can say that there is no more digestion of the food in the stomach. And there the food carbohydrate containing food is directly pumped or flushed into the small intestine. And therefore when the food is going from the stomach to the small intestine, it must become acidic because many molecules or we will say the ions of the HCl will be along with the food. Therefore in small intestine the first you can say the process which will be occur is the neutralization reaction, and this neutralization is carried out by the bicarbonates which are poured in the small intestine from the pancreas. Therefore the pancreatic alpha amylase which is poured from the pancreas or which is coming from the pancreas into the small intestine, it will act on the starch, and therefore further it will make the digestion process of the carbohydrate possible. And therefore amylase, it will specifically act on alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage, and it will not act on the 1,6 bonds. Therefore, by the combined effort of the mouth and amylase enzyme, the food which is at the last stages of digestion in small intestine, it consists of some disaccharides molecules, and these disaccharides comprised of like maltose. Maltose is disaccharide, isomaltose, which is in this manner, not the linear way, and the maltotriose, 3 units, and many oligosaccharides, which comprised of small, medium chains. Here, 4 monosaccharide units, which are joined together through the alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage, is shown over here. And you can say that you can see from here this whole chain up to here, and this whole chain, this one, these all are in these the glucose units are united through the alpha 1 4 glycosidic linkage. And definitely this small branching and this one is due to the alpha 1 6 glycosidic linkage, in which there is bond between the carbon 1 and carbon 6 of the other carbohydrate or the monosaccharide unit. And due to the collective effort of or collective, we can say, the digestion which is carried out by the mouth and the small intestine, the polysaccharides or the starches have the fate that they consist of some maltose and some also isomaltose units, along with many oligosaccharides. And the final digestion of di and oligosaccharides to the monosaccharides or the simpler units, it primarily occurs at the mucosal lining of the upper jejunum, and the small intestine have three parts. And this digestion, final digestion of di and oligosaccharides are carried out in the upper jejunum portion. And for this digestion, very important enzymes are oligosaccharides, and among them are glucoamylase, which is acting on amylose, and the disaccharases. And the disaccharases, definitely, the name is derived from the disaccharides. It means that the enzyme which are acting on the disaccharides, carbohydrates like maltose and sucrose and lactose are the definitely disaccharides. And similarly, the name of the enzymes are derived as maltase, sucrase, and the lactase, which are occurring on their respective disaccharides carbohydrates. And the enzyme sucrase is capable of, at this stage, hydrolyzing a large amount of the table sugar which we take daily in very high concentration, and therefore sucrose is degraded in the upper jejunum part in very high concentration. Here is dramatical representation that what's going on with the carbohydrates which are taken through the mouth. And in mouth or food comprised of many starches and some cellulose material as well, which have plant origin, and lactose and the sucrose, which are the disaccharides. And definitely in mouth, the salivary alpha amylase act on the starches and make them at the small units and make their fragments. And these fragments are dextrin, isomaltose, and the maltose. And they go onto the stomach, but due to the low pH of the stomach, the further activity of alpha amylase is stopped. And similarly, the same food is poured into the or go into the small intestine. In small intestine, there are pancreatic alpha amylase, alpha glucoamylase, isomaltase, and maltase enzyme, which act on these units to give the simple glucose. Similarly, there is degradation of lactose and sucrose into small intestine with the help of lactase and sucrase enzyme respectively to give the glucose units, fructose and galactose from these disaccharides. And definitely cellulose which is taken from the plant will not be digested even with the small intestine, and therefore it will be excreted as such in the undigested, you can say, form. Next is the absorption of monosaccharides, and principal monosaccharide which are produced by the digestion of carbohydrates. They are mainly glucose, fructose, and galactose. And of these, glucose accounts for nearly 80% of total monosaccharides. It means that the food which we take consists of most concentration of the glucose monosaccharides, and the absorption of these sugar mostly takes place by the duodenum and upper jejunum of the small intestine. And there exists a considerable variation in the absorption of the different monosaccharides, and these different monosaccharides may be glucose, fructose, galactose, and sub you can say pentoses as well. It means that they are not absorbed by the small intestine portion, which are the duodenum and the jejunum, to the same extent, but there is variation in the absorption of these monosaccharides depending upon their nature. Here is the comparison of different monosaccharides unit while keeping the glucose as standard. Therefore, I have like given the glucose as 100 marks. It means that the glucose units which are absorbing in the small intestine, they are 100 in number. And when we will compare glucose with the other monosaccharides, then galactose will be absorbed more because the number for it which is recorded experimentally, it's 110, and fructose is absorbed to the nearly half percentage to the glucose, which is 43. Mannose, xylose, arabinose, they are absorbed to the very small extent. It means that definitely galactose competes the glucose, but fructose are also absorbed efficiently in comparison to the pentoses. Next is what's the mechanism by which the monosaccharide, or definitely the glucose, is absorbed to a very high concentration from the you can say the lumen or the central part of the intestine to the intestinal mucosa cell, because unless or until the food is make the part of intestinal mucosa cells, it will not be carried out by the bloodstream, and it will not be transported to the different parts of the body in order to give the energy. Therefore, the glucose is transported into the intestinal mucosa cells by a, uh, well defined system, and this system is called carrier mediated. Carrier mediated means such type of the system which requires some carrier, and energy is required, and definitely energy is giving in the form of ATPs, and therefore this carrier is sodium, and glucose and sodium both are transported, therefore it's called symport. And concentration of I will tell you in the next slide how the concentration of sodium is higher or lower in the intestinal mucosa cells or the intestinal lumen, where is high, where is low, and what's the role of the sodium potassium ADPase to carry out this transportation. The mechanism can be well uh, understand from here that when the food is inside the intestinal mucosas, intestinal lumen, and this food is largely in the glucose form, and similarly in the intestinal portion there is large number of the sodium ion as well, and glucose needs to go inside the intestinal mucosa cells in order to that this glucose must be absorbed into the blood capillaries so that it will go into its destination or the organs of the body where it should be utilized to give energy, and definitely this energy will be giving in the form of glycolysis. And definitely when glucose will going inside, there are a large number of sodium ions, and sodium ions will also go inside the intestinal mucosa cell. It means that there are some carrier proteins which carry them inside an intestinal mucosa cell, and therefore it's called symport. Symport means at the same time two types of the molecules are going inside the intestinal mucosa cell. And when there is here concentration of sodium is high but here is low, therefore sodium can easily move inside it. But when sodium go outside of the intestinal mucosa cell, then it's against the concentration gradient, because from the low to the high concentration there must be need of energy, and this energy is giving in the form of ADP. Therefore ATP gives the energy, and it's converted into ADPs, and enzyme is sodium potassium ATPase. Similarly, when sodium comes out, there must be balance of the charge, therefore potassium will go inside. In this way, glucose from the intestinal mucosa cell goes into the capillaries, and this transport system is called symport. Next is the important metabolic step of the carbohydrate metabolism, which is called glycolysis. And glycolysis is the metabolic process of the carbohydrate, which is responsible for the, you can say, energy providing mechanism for both aerobic and anaerobic cellular respiration. And in glycolysis, glucose is converted into pyruvate in case of aerobic one, and for the anaerobic, it gives the lactate units. And glucose, is the six-membered ring which is found in blood, and usually as a result of breakdown of carbohydrates in the into sugars. And it enters cell through the specific transporter protein, which I have discussed in the last slide. And it moves which move it from outside the cell into the cell cytosol, and therefore all of the glycolytic enzymes are found in the cytosol. And the overall reaction of the glycolysis, which occurs in the cytoplasm, is such that the glucose, which needs NADs, ADPs, and is converted into the pyruvic acid. Two ADPs are generated and NAD units are also generated. First step is carried out by the enzyme which is called hexokinase. And in the first step of glycolysis, there is conversion of the glucose from simple glucose, which is D-glucose, into glucose 6-phosphate. And enzyme which catalyzes this reaction is called hexokinase. It means the enzyme which is responsible for the phosphorylation of the glucose ring, and this phosphorylation is definitely addition of the phosphate group. This is not the addition of phosphorus, this is addition of phosphate group and to the molecule, and this phosphate group is derived from definitely from the ATP. And in this step, one molecule of ADP is consumed or utilized. And the reaction occurs with the help of enzyme which is hexokinase. And this enzyme definitely causes the phosphorylation of the many six-membered glucose ring structures. And definitely another, you can say, cofactor is also involved, and this cofactor is magnesium. And magnesium is definitely in the form of Mg+2, and this is also involved due to in order to shield the negative charge which is coming from the phosphate end, which was in fact derived from the ADP molecule. And the result of phosphorylation is that the glucose is now converted to the glucose 6 phosphate, because the phosphate group is now present at the sixth position. Similarly, we can summarize this step as the glucose with the help of ADP, which is the adenosine triphosphate, and 3 units, it means that 1 unit phosphate unit is representing as PO, 3 like this. Third, fourth bond it will make with the backbone, and it's released as ADP. And one phosphate group, it will go towards the, this is carbon number 6. The numbering is started from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this carbon is 6. So the hydrogen is removed, and like this, and one phosphate group is attached with the oxygen to give the glucose 6 phosphate, and the enzyme is hexokinase. Next enzyme which is involved is phosphoglucoisomerase, and it's the second reaction or the step of the glycolysis, in which there is rearrangement of the glucose 6 phosphate into the fructose 6 phosphate. It means that the rearrangement from the 6, you can say the carbon containing or the 6 membered ring to the 5 membered ring, and therefore the enzyme is called as phosphoglucoisomerase. It means that the enzyme which will isomerase or convert the glucose 6 phosphate into the another phosphate containing monosaccharide, but it is 5 membered ring. And second step of glycolysis then involves the conversion of glucose 6 phosphate to the fructose 6 phosphate, and with the help of enzyme is isomerase, and isomerase enzyme is due to the process, when this process is called isomerization. And isomerization is simple, that it involves the in fact the rearrangement of the carbon oxygen bond, and it transforms the 6 membered ring into the 5 membered ring. How it happens? Like the rearrangement reaction takes place when the 6 carbon, it will 6 containing ring, carbon containing ring will open, and it will recloses in such a way that the first carbon, this carbon will become external to the ring. It means that if this carbon will go outside of the ring, it will present on the 5 membered ring. In this way the 6 membered ring is rearranged to give the 5 membered ring, and carbon 1, which was the part of the ring, it will be present external to the ring as carbon 1. Therefore the phosphoglucoisomerase enzyme, definitely it will causes a rearrangement and isomerization of the glucose 6 phosphate into the fructose 6 phosphate. Rest of the structure will remain the same, there is no change. Third step is uh, definitely imparting, or you can say the involvement or attachment of another phosphate group, and the enzyme for this is phosphofructokinase, and phosphofructokinase carry out the help of magnesium again as the cofactor. Many enzymes can't perform or catalyze certain reaction, can't perform their activity uh, without the help of some metals, and these metals may be like alkaline earth metal. Here magnesium is providing the role of cofactor. It is assisting the enzyme phosphofructokinase, and it will change the fructose 6 phosphate to the fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. It means that another phosphate group is going to be entered in the structure of the fructose 6 phosphate. already one phosphate group is present at the sixth position, and second phosphate group will be attached with the carbon at which is present at the first position. Therefore, for the phosphorylation, there is definite need for the energy, and this energy is giving in the form of ADP. And in this step, the role of magnesium is no doubt also involved the shielding of the negative charge due to the phosphate group. Therefore, one phosphate group was already present at the sixth position, or the is attached with the sixth carbon through the oxygen, and the second phosphate group will also be attached with the carbon through the oxygen, and this is the second phosphate group, and the enzyme is phosphofructokinase. It will cause the phosphorylation. Therefore, in biochemistry, the term is not used the dye. Uh, in fact, in routine, you will use for the same type of the group, you will use the term dye. But like dimethyl, trimethyl, dichloro. But in case of biochemistry, the terminology dye is replaced by the bis. Therefore, the second phosphate group is present at the first position, and compound now fructose consists of two phosphate group, and it's called 1,6 bis phosphate. And no doubt it's the fructose, and the whole name is fructose 1,6 bis phosphate. And again, due to the utilization of ATP, another ATP is released along with the hydrogen, which was removed from here. Next is aldolase enzyme, and the role of aldolase enzyme is lysing. It means that it will break the molecule, and it will definitely break or splits the molecule in such a way that there are two independent sugars or the molecules, and in this way aldolase enzyme will split the fructose 1,6 bisphosphate, which is formed in the last step, into two new sugars, and they are in fact the isomers of each other. Isomers of each other means that these two new sugars can convert into one another, and these two sugars are dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. And this step utilizes the enzyme aldolase, which catalyzes the cleavage of fructose bisphosphate to yield two carbon containing molecule. One molecule is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and second one is dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Here is description of this step. That's while starting from fructose 1,6 bisphosphate, which is utilized as substrate for the enzyme aldolase, and it will cleave this 6 carbon containing molecule in such a way that 3 carbon will be make the part of DHAP, and second one to the GAP, and it's called the dihydroxyacetone phosphate because its structure is derived from the acetone. In the acetone, uh, along with the carbonyl, there are CH3 and CH3 group, and but one hydrogen from here and one hydrogen from here is replaced by hydroxy group. Therefore, it's called dihydroxy. It means that the two hydrogens from each of the methyl group are replaced by hydroxy group. Therefore, it is called dihydroxyacetone. And for what you will do for the phosphate, the hydrogen which was with the oxygen in the hydroxyl group, uh, in the hydroxyl appearance, it will be removed and the phosphate group will be attached. It means that the name is derived from the acetone, but the compound is containing two hydroxy group, and the hydrogen of second hydroxyl group is replaced by the phosphate. Similarly, it's the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. It's the simple formula of the glyceraldehyde, and from this position, there is cleavage of the hydrogen to and the attachment of phosphate. And from this summary, you can see from 1, 2, 3 up till now, these are carrying from this side of the fructose 1,6 bisphosphate, and 4, 5, and 6, they will be make the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. And these two sugars, which are 3 carbon containing sugars, they are interconvertible into one another by an enzyme which is called triose phosphate isomerase. It means that an enzyme which causes the interconversion of these two by the and definitely these two are trioses. 3 carbon containing and 1 phosphate unit is present in them. Next is involvement of the triose phosphate isomerase enzyme, and enzyme triose phosphate isomerase, it rapidly interconverts the molecule which I have told you earlier, dihydroxyestone phosphate and GAP. And definitely glyceraldehyde phosphate is removed and used in the next step of the glycolysis. And GAP is the only molecule that contains GAP means glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is the only molecule which will further grow into the glycolytic pathway. As a result of dihydroxyacetone phosphate molecule produced are further acted on by the enzyme triose phosphate isomerase, and all of these 3 carbon containing compound will be present as GAP glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. And it recognizes the DHAP to into it recognizes it, and definitely it will reorganize the dihydroxyacetone phosphate into the GAP. So only the GAP will go into the glycolysis. And at this point in the glycolytic pathway, we have 2 carbon containing 3 carbon containing molecule, but have not yet fully converted glucose into the pyruvate. And therefore, from glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, further reactions are also carrying out in order to convert the cleavage or the breakdown of the glucose completely. And this complete breakdown will be carried out until there is synthesis of pyruvate. And this step is the consist of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase. Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase, it definitely dehydrogenate and adds an inorganic phosphate to the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. And therefore, from one phosphate containing glyceraldehyde, there is formation of glyceraldehyde which consists of 2 phosphate group, and these phosphate group will be present at position 1 and 3. And due to the presence of 2 phosphate group, again this will be called as 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate. And in this step, 2 main events will take place. What are these? Number first is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is oxidized by the coenzyme which is called nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, and the molecule is phosphorylated by the addition of the free phosphate group, and the enzyme that catalyzes this reaction is the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase. It means that phosphorylation is also carrying out, along with the dehydrogenation. And the enzyme GAPDH contains appropriate structure, and therefore it will hold the molecule in the conformation such that it will allow the NAD, which is the coenzyme molecule, to pull a hydrogen off, yeah, from the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and therefore convert NAD to its reduced form, which is NADH. And the phosphate group then attacks the GAP molecule, and it releases it from the enzyme to give the product. And when the substrate is fully converted into product, and definitely it will be released from the enzyme active site. And therefore in this case the substrate which is released from the active site of the enzyme is 1,3 bis phosphoglycerate, along with the reduced form of nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide and the hydrogen as well. Here is the complete representation that while starting from glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, NAD is involved. NAD will take the hydrogen from this end, and therefore by hydrogen will be liberated. NAD will be reduced as NADH, and phosphate group will be incorporated at this position. Next is phosphoglycerate kinase role, and phosphoglycerate kinase transfers a phosphate group from 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate to ATP to form the ATP. In this way, there is production of the energy. It means that the ATP which was used in the starting reaction, they are going to be resynthesized, or it means that there is a generation of the energy in this step in the form of ATP. And in this step, 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate is converted into only 3-phosphoglycerate, and the enzyme is phosphoglycerate kinase. And this reaction definitely involves the loss of the phosphate group, because from the bis there should be conversion into only one phosphate containing molecule. And the phosphate group, when it will be released, it will be transferred to the molecule of ATP, and this will yield the molecule of ATP, and it will be the first molecule of ATP will be which will be yielded by the glycolysis. Since we actually have used two molecules of 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate, because these two interconvertible isomers were only changed into the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Therefore, two 3 carbon products form from stage 1 of the glycolysis, and it will yield definitely 2 ATPs. And therefore we actually synthesize two molecules of ATPs, because here the two molecules of uh, 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate is making the part of this reaction. And with this synthesis of ATP, we have cancelled out the first two molecules of ATP, which were utilized as the starting for providing the energy. Therefore, it will leave us with the net 0 ATP, because whatsoever ATPs we have used or our system has used in the glycolysis, definitely it will balance that ATPs uh, uh, by performing a such type of the reaction which will generate the ATPs at this stage of the glycolysis. Here is the complete pathway, and magnesium is definitely involved, and for shielding charge and for making or providing its role as the cofactor. And the molecule having the 2-phosphate group, one phosphate group will be released from here. It will make the part of ADP, and ATP will be generated. And this negative charge will be definitely balanced with the magnesium as well, and there is formation of 3-phosphoglycerate. And these are definitely from starting from back reaction, these are two molecules. These are two molecules because the 6 carbon change into the two molecules of two carbon containing units. Step number 8 in have the function of the phosphoglycerate mutase enzyme. And enzyme phosphoglyceromutase, it relocates the phosphorus from the 3-phosphoglycerate uh, from its third carbon to the second carbon. When it will relocate or transfer or migrates the phosphate group from position number 3 to the 2, it will definitely yield the 2-phosphoglycerate. It means that there is simple rearrangement in the position of the phosphate group, and there is no change other than this one. And the molecule which is responsible for this catalyzing reaction is phosphoglycerate mutase enzyme. And I have told you many times that the mutase is an enzyme that catalyzes the transfer of the functional group from one position of the molecule to another. And the reaction mechanism proceeds by first adding an additional phosphate group to the position number 2 of the 3-phosphoglycerate, and then simultaneously this enzyme will remove the phosphate group from the 3 position, only leaving the phosphate group at the 2 position, in which the enzyme is also restored to its original phosphorylated position, and this phosphate group is only removed from here, and it will jump or transfer to the uh, position number 2. Therefore, from the 3-phosphoglycerate, there is formation or generation of 2-phosphoglycerate by the enzyme which are called mutase. Next is enolase, and this enolase removes a molecule of the water from the 2-phosphoglycerate and to form the phosphoenol pyruvic acid. This is called PEP, and it's very important molecule. And this step involves the conversion of 2-phosphoglycerate to the phosphoenol pyruvate, and enzyme is enolase. And enolase works by removing the water molecule, and removal of water molecule is called the dehydration, or in fact it's the dehydrating the 2-phosphoglycerate. It's the 2-phosphoglycerate molecule, and enolase removes the water molecule, and from where water molecule is removed, hydroxyl from this position and hydrogen from this one. Therefore these hydrogen will go in this way, and hydroxyl will make the bond in this way, and therefore these hydrogen and hydroxyl together makes the water molecule, and there is generation of the double bond, therefore it's called enol. And also with the due to the you can say the involvement or the attachment of the phosphorus at the second position, it's called phosphoenol pyruvate. This step involves the pyruvate kinase to transfer of phosphate group from phosphoenol pyruvate PEP to the ADP. Therefore, again, there is formation of ATP, and its final step of the glycolysis, which converts the phosphoenol pyruvate into pyruvate with the help of enzyme pyruvate kinase. And definitely, kinase enzyme, it also suggests that definitely one phosphate group will be released, and there is transfer of the phosphate group to the ADP to give ATP molecule. And phosphate group which is attached at this position number 2 or is transferred to the molecule of ADP, and it will yield ATP. And again, since there are, it's understood these are two molecules of phosphoenol pyruvate. Therefore, there is generation of two pyruvate molecule and two ADPs as well. And therefore, what's happen over here that this hydrogen goes over here. There four valency of carbon is satisfied, and when this phosphate group will be removed, this carbon oxygen will be alone. Definitely, it will make the double bond with the carbon to form the carbonyl group or the pyruvate. Next is the step 1 and 3. They utilize the two ATPs, and 7 and 10 step result in the production of total 2 plus 2, 4 ATPs. Therefore, net visible ATPs which will be produced will be 2. And this is overall process of glycolysis that while starting from the glucose units, it will convert into pyruvate, which is a 3 carbon containing molecule, and glucose is completely break down into while carrying the help of the 10 step and the multiple enzymes. And this highlighted portion shows the ADPs are utilized over here, and del G showed the free energy change which is occurring in this reaction. And NADs which are produced in this reaction in the reduced form, they definitely they are the make part of the electron transport chain to give the ATPs, and definitely they will be again in their oxidized form. And here is the production of ATP in this reaction 10th, and in the 7th reaction there is generation of ADPs. And this from 6 unit molecule there is production of 2 3 carbon containing molecule, and definitely only glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate will proceed the next reaction. It means that the all dihydroxyacetone phosphate, it would definitely go or change into the glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate. And therefore there is net conversion of the glucose. Glucose is oxidized, glucose is breakdown or metabolized, and into the pyruvate in case of aerobic mechanism. For assignments, you have to do what happens to the anaerobic glycolysis if lactate generation is blocked. And is there an enzymatic assay to test the metabolic activity of the 6-phosphofructokinase and fructose 2,6 bisphosphorase? You have to explain the enzymatic assays to detect their activities, and how to show increased glycolysis by the metformin in vivo. In vivo means metformin is taken orally, and in vivo inside the metabolic system, how it shows it effect in increasing the uh, glycolysis. You have to comment on it, and you have to draw the mechanism for it. Best wishes, class. I hope you will understand it. You will read it. You will understand the slides. Go through them, read the books, and draw the mechanism many times in order to eliminate some inaccuracies. And best wishes. Allah Hafiz.